Have a look at this. 10th of October, sun shining, a little bit of a breeze, and the bees are going mad for ivy. The ivy is flowering and they're bringing in nectar and pollen as well. All that yellow is pollen. They're going to feed that to the brood, and the nectar they're going to store for the winter as well as feeding the brood. Ivy honey does set really hard, but I think they can use it as long as it doesn't get really cold, and it doesn't get really cold here usually in the winter. But just look at them. So see these bees here, they're fanning their wings and they're blowing the air through and out of the hive, and that's to dry the nectar, because obviously nectar's got a lot of water in it as well as sugar, and they need to dry it to make honey. So all those bees there sat on the front flapping their wings are blowing air, and it's like a fan blowing out the door. I can smell it and feel the moist warm air. And this is the hive. This is one I call number 6. It's in the shed. It just happened to be here, and they did quite well here this year. I took quite a bit of honey from this one. But they're just here in the yard. You can see them flying in. I get the camera right in front of the door. This is what they're normally like in July when it's hot and sunny. But to see this in October is unusual to be this active. Right, so a very quick look at the apple trees, and guess what? No apples. There you go, that tells the story, doesn't it? We had a few, not very many, handful over all the trees, but I don't think there's any here now. That they dropped off, the ones that came, but they've grown a lot of leaf and a lot of stem. The crab apple, actually, I say we got no apples. We got the crab apple. Got quite a few apples. There you go. So we've got some apples. But, they're not a lot of use to us. This tree did have a few apples on it. There's a cooking one. But in the orchard here, where I've got these 9 trees, absolutely zero harvest this year. No eating apples, no cider apples, no cooking apples. Down to the weather, I guess. The frost took the flowers. They did all flower, but the frost took them. But they've put on a lot of leaf, a lot of growth this year. So hopefully next year we'll get some good crops. So just came to look at the bees out here as well. This is where most of my hives are. I've got in 4 different places altogether. But this is where the biggest group of them are. And what was it, 2 o'clock in the afternoon on the 10th of October. And they are busy. So So they've got one box, there's 2 boxes there, there's 2 hives in there, half, one on the front, one on the back, in that one. That's just the one box, 2 boxes there. I've joined those together recently, merged them, and the same with these. These got 2 boxes and I merged those as well. I had 2 hives with no queens and had 2 others with small queens, so I just joined them together using that newspaper between them. So I haven't checked them lately, but hopefully they're all doing good, and they're just absolutely loving this weather. They're not in the slightest bit interested in me, they're just trying to get as much ivy nectar. I'll see if I can find some ivy and film them on there, because that is pretty amazing if I can find the bush that they're on. So here we are. Look, I found a big lot of flowering ivy, and it's in one of these ash. This is an ash tree which has got dieback. I'm going to make a video about the dieback later today as well, which I'm not really looking forward to, but I'm gonna do it to document it. This ivy's flowering like crazy, and it's really stinking of, the same smell that's coming out the hive. I can smell it here. What I can't see though is a massive amount of bees. There are a few, but I guess there's just so much ivy everywhere that even, they're just spread out everywhere. I mean, the whole hedges are just full of ivy like this everywhere, and so the bees are spread out. There's one. There's some, you can see, collecting pollen. There she is. There's a few here, a handful, not a massive amount, but there's just ivy everywhere, so you can see it flowering. And there's more bees further up as well. I mean, it goes up really high, and there's another big tree right next to us that's full of it as well. So there's other pollinators here collecting too, as well as honeybees. There's one. Could be the same one. But they're all over the place. There's just ivy everywhere. All over the countryside, just flowering like this, and the ivy must be just, well, I can smell it, so it must be just weeping nectar here. Right, so just to finish this video off, I thought I'd just have a quick look at the jars of honey that I've got from this year. I haven't counted it up really, but I probably had about £100 of honey altogether, and we do go through quite a bit of honey myself. I'm making some mead, and we'll give a few away as presents, some of those jars. But that's the summer honey there, and there's a few surplus jars there because I ran out of pound jars. And that was a bag of wax, so that's all the cappings that I cut off of the frames, and there's a bit of honey draining out of that. That's what that's hanging off the edge for. And this one here, this yellow white one, this is the ivy honey that I took this out two weeks ago, and it was liquid when I took it out, and within 24 hours it is set, and it's hard now. It's hard, and that's what ivy honey sets like. And that was, well, 2 weeks ago, that one, and I reckon now, well, if I was to pull out all the honey that they've got there, I probably could fill out 50 or 100 jars, but I'm going to leave it all in there for them to eat in the winter. And I got a little bit of blackberry mead down there, which I've mixed some honey in with the blackberry juice. I'm not going to make any cider this year because I haven't got any apples, but there's a bit from last year still going. And well, there it is. So quite a nice haul of honey this year. I'm quite pleased with that, and you can't beat a bit of natural honey from your own bees. It is really nice to have, and I really do enjoy doing it. So there we are. I think that's it for the bees this year. We're going to put the bees to bed. Hopefully they all get through the winter, and we'll see what happens in the spring.